it is all about the journey. Each little new thing that I do and I learn about, it's so exciting. And that's what makes life exciting. You're always like exploring and, oh, I can't wait until I get the book and the deck and when I go here to speak, whatever it is and whatever it is for you, that is, that's what brings you joy.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Melanie, and today I'm back with more of my conversation with Debbie Weiss. And this is where it gets quite emotional. So we left off with her discovering she could really actually speak in public without dying of embarrassment. Quite the opposite. She really connected to people, and everybody was really, really excited about her talk. But then life decided to throw her some serious curveballs. Her husband, who she'd been running this insurance business with for decades, just walked out of the office one day and said he couldn't come back. Anxiety, depression. It was a very difficult time. And then, because apparently, as we know, the universe has a very twisted sense of humor sometimes, he also gets diagnosed with terminal blood cancer and 6 months to live. So now here's where Debbie does something that sounds completely counterintuitive, but actually makes perfect sense when she explains it to me. She decides this is the perfect time to finally write that book she's been thinking about. Well, actually, I think it was more her editor convincing her at the time, and she was doing a course to complete it. So after thinking about it, she decided she's going to try to do this. And so while her husband was dying, while everything was falling apart, she decided to push through and write that book. So her therapist told her, who cares? When she worried about not being able to keep up with the homework or show up every week. And once she realized what that really meant, that little sentence, who cares? That's when everything changed for her. This is about what happens when you keep creating, even when, especially when, your world is ending. Because it still gives you reason to hold on. It still gives you reason to continue. And it gives you purpose. So let's continue our conversation today with Debbie. Thanks so much for listening. Welcome to Mama What's Next, a podcast for all the amazing women navigating the wonderful challenges of exploring a new version of yourself after becoming a mom. I'm your host, Melly, and together with my incredible guests, I'm here to help you explore who you are now and help guide you to your true path, one that feels authentic and fulfilling at the same time. Motherhood changes everything, yes. It's beautiful, transformative, and sometimes it pulls us away from the woman we were. Together we dive into career change stories and how to live a life that truly reflects who we are without guilt and with the courage to embrace your journey. So get yourself a coffee, steal a moment for yourself, and let's explore this next chapter of your life. I am super happy that you're here. Welcome.
So one day I'm listening to a podcast, and on the podcast, there's a woman who helps first-time authors get their stories out there. And listening to her, I really could relate to her. And I thought, this is meant to be. This is a podcast I wasn't a regular listener of. I was an occasional listener of. And I said, this is a message and I have to meet her. And so I scheduled a meeting and really connected with her. And she made me feel safe and like I could do it. And I wasn't going to be judged because I wasn't a good writer and all the things. And she was starting this small group. And just as I was kind of getting my courage up, one, to invest the money, and two, to think, oh boy, if I invest the money, I got to really do this. My husband, out of the blue, was diagnosed with terminal blood cancer. And I was seeing a therapist at the time. And I said to her, I'm embarrassed that I'm even bringing this up, but this course that I was going to take, obviously, I can't take it now. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know, I don't know anything. I don't know what our future looks like. And she said, I disagree with you. I think this is the perfect time to take this class. And I said, well, what if there's homework and I don't do the homework? Or what if I can't show up one week? Or, what if I have to read it out loud and people judge me? And she said, who cares? And I thought, oh my gosh, she's right. What does it matter? And so I took the leap and, told everyone of my situation, and everybody was so incredibly supportive. And it was, like I said earlier, a very small group, which was really helpful. We were each kind of writing slightly different types of books, and nobody had written anything before. And some of them wanted to be writers or authors, but they had never given it a go. And it was very difficult the first, I'd say, month or two in the course, just book-wise, for me to figure out. There was like a lot of things. I couldn't understand, well, what am I writing? Do I just start writing? It took a while to figure out the structure. Once I did, it was very helpful for me. But here's the point. I said, I'm going to do this. At a certain point in the course, I didn't feel this way in the beginning, but meeting with these women every week, being with people who are supportive, who are on that same journey, built me up and inspired me. And so when we would make a goal at the end of every week, and whatever it was, this week we're going to write 3,000 words, I wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. And what wound up happening is that my therapist was 1,000% right. Writing this book saved me during one of the most difficult times of my life, because not only did my husband suffer from the blood cancer, but his mental illness really kicked in when you're told you're dying and there's no cure. And that was that was more challenging than what was going on with his body. And so I would make sure most days to schedule time to write, whether it was at 6 a.m. before he woke up. If he was in the hospital, I'd take all my stuff with me. And when he was sleeping or went for a test, I wrote. And I looked forward, even though it was a struggle to write, because this is new to me. And some days you sit down and nothing comes. And other days, you could write the whole book. Mm-hmm. But just making progress, when it gave some sense of control when the rest of my life was literally spinning, and I mean spinning out of control. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when he died 6 months later, he lived 6 months from the time he was diagnosed, I was 3 chapters shy of finishing. And I was supposed to, my husband died on December 30th, 2022. And I was supposed to have my book, or my first draft, to the editor January 15th, 2023. So 2 weeks later. And of course they said to me, don't be ridiculous. Whenever you get it, it's fine. And after the funeral, and after, my friends and family went back to their own lives, which is, the hardest part when you lose anyone, but particularly when you lose someone. I've lost my dad and I've lost my husband. They're very different circumstances, grief, feelings, very different. And, when someone's part of your life, your household, it's different. And so everybody goes back to their lives and you're like, now what? Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, you know what? It got me through the last 6 months writing this book. As I sit here literally in this same room, this actually was the room that we turned into a bedroom for my husband. I turned it back quickly into more of an office. And I said, I'm going to sit here and this is my goal. And this is going to help me focus on something else other than all this pain and grief, that I'm going through. And that's what I did. And I had it to her on January 15th.
Yeah. Oh, that's such an important message, Debbie, and so much more. That's what I mean, like the depth of conversations that, I get to have I'm so grateful for, because like you're not just telling people, that it matters to put your stuff out there, that it matters to follow, that to create the creative projects, to put your heart and soul into something, but also that something like this can really save you. And it just gives you something to hold on to, like you say, like something that you can still control, like something meaningful when everything else falls apart. And I think so many people go through these kinds of things and we get lost,
Exactly.
And it's very inspiring hearing you talk about your journey and how you used that to work through this really challenging time. So thank you for sharing it. Yeah.
You're welcome. And that's why I wanted to share it, because it's so counterintuitive, right? I mean, I thought the same thing. What am I, crazy? I'm not starting something new, the second that we get this horrible news. But, time and time again, and even after he died, this journey that I continue on, coming up on 3 years, I can't even believe it. It has saved me. And I've had people who don't know me say, oh, look at her. She's capitalizing on her husband's death. And
really? Do people do that? I was like, oh my God. That is insane.
It's one person, and they don't know the backstory. This started way before anything happened with him. It had nothing to do with him. It's just now part of my story, because my story is my life, and this is my life.
Yes, of course.
I didn't ask to be a widow. Believe me.
And also not to have this kind of journey. Like that sometimes when we use these little bits and pieces of our story, like if someone was to come and go, oh, how come you talk about, well, that is your story and you lived it and you had to live through it, so you might as well talk about it. And I'm so sure that there are people out there that will listen to that and it will give them strength, and it gives them a reason to move forward with it, with their own challenges, And sometimes that's all we need. Like we need that message of someone to see, like, actually she's gone through the same thing and she managed to do it, so I can too,
And that's exactly how it worked for me. Listening to podcasts, listening to other people, being inspired, and really just shifting that mindset, and from I can't to maybe I can. Why not? If they can do it, why can't I do it? Exactly. Why can't I at least try?
Yeah.
And the trying, the stepping out of your comfort zone, which is for most of us, and for me for sure, the hardest thing to do. But I have seen that when I do that, look what happened. I finally agreed to be the president, and it changed my life. It changed my life. I discovered something about myself I never knew existed. So it was only because, I took that step. Even when I moved to become an insurance agent, I left what I knew. I left where I grew up. I came to a very different place doing something completely different. And, it was hard, but in the end, it's given me so much freedom and so much joy. And it really has, it worked out. And where would I have been if I didn't step out of my comfort zone in the
There you
same box,
go.
right? And then you're that
Yes.
person at the end of your life going, what happened? Oh, I can't believe I never experimented and see, maybe I could have done this. Who knows? Wouldn't you rather go down trying?
I know. I think exactly the same. And sometimes it's really, really difficult. I can totally relate. I was like, when you were talking about the story, when you had to go up on stage, I was like, oh my God, I would have died. And
Yes.
you know what? This particular, like so many people struggle with speaking in front of people. And for me, it's been my biggest fear talking into a microphone. But like when something is calling you, it's like you really have this choice. And I just don't want to be this person that at the end of their life sits there with regrets going, oh, I wish I would have done. What would have happened? What if? I don't want to be that person. I just rather, and sometimes when you realize, and that's exactly what you've experienced, like you've worked through this to get out of your comfort zone. And then you often realize that this fear is like an illusion. Mm-hmm. It's been created by your mind because actually you're so amazing speaking to me now in front of people. You're so connecting with your story. Like it's so emotional. It made me emotional. And it's like we're building up this big thing in our mind often. And then you realize, actually, this is why I'm here. Like I am meant to be speaking to people like this. Why did I even have this fear?
It was crazy, really crazy. I remember thinking, oh, I can't wait till the next one. I can't wait till, I give that second speech. What am I going to talk about? Oh, now I have to make sure I make it just as good, but I was excited. It was eye-opening, really eye-opening. Yeah.
See, this is what I mean. And so many people, get that they stop right there. They think this is real. Whereas I think it's almost like this fog of illusion kind of created that our thoughts create. And sometimes if you pull back that curtain, you're like, that's not me actually. Why was that there?
I can't remember. I have in one of my presentation statistics, I think it's something like 85 to 90% of the things that we're worried about don't come true.
They don't happen.
And
it's so true.
The percentage that does happen is never as bad as you think it's going to be.
I love this. That's the same research I pulled out at some point then people actually, yes. And people realize when the other part that you just talked about, that people realize that the things that they actually had to overcome taught them something, right? And they learned something really valuable and it actually made them stronger. So they're grateful for the lesson, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So worrying is just... At the end, I would just like to ask you, in general, how, like you're obviously a speaker, you've written books, and you also work with people, you coach, and how exactly? No,
I don't coach. So in a month, I'm going to be 62. And what I've decided is, and this is part of the journey, is that I think that I can make more impact by speaking to larger groups than working one-on-one. I also seem to, part of this whole creative thing that's popping off in my head, I have all these like product ideas. And so that is where I decided that, putting my energy is, I just finished a gratitude journal and I made a deck of cards. This is just a prototype that go with my book, to use in conjunction with. And, I've got all these little branded sprinkle things. And this is it. Like people would look at this and say, a 62-year-old person has sprinkles, right? Like it doesn't go.
But I think it's amazing.
It makes me so darn happy. Every time I look at this, it makes me happy. And so I just tell myself, if it makes me happy, there's other people out there that it will make them happy. And so that's the direction right now that I'm going in. Talk to me a year from now. Who knows? But like you said in the beginning, which I think is 1,000% true, it is all about the journey. Each little new thing that I do and I learn about, it's so exciting. And that's what makes life exciting. You're always like exploring and, I can't wait until I get the book and the deck and the, when I go here to speak, whatever it is and whatever it is for you, that is, that's what brings you joy. And then you're like, oh, great, this worked or this didn't work. So what's next? What's next? What's next? Yeah. And I never want to stop saying what's next.
Well, that's amazing. I was going to say that's my last question is always, and what's next for you, Debbie? What's next? What have you planned?
My what's next is I love getting surprises, right? Like I said, I can't even tell you how my poor friends and family, every year for my birthday, they always seem to come up with something else that they can do to surprise me. But I love getting surprises in the mail, right? Things that make me happy. And so I want to create something that does the same for other people. And so I am in the process of creating my sprinkle gift box.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. So it'll have my sprinkle effect book and the gratitude journal, the cards, this one is a blank notebook that says sprinkle your thoughts, and a pen, and I don't know, maybe a little jar of sprinkles, and something that you open it and yet it's helpful, right? Yes. Because that particular book, it is really kind of steps that I've taken to start to change my life. And so I feel like when you want to help a woman who's not sure, maybe they've gone through a transition, divorce, empty nester, retired, changing careers, like whatever it is, right? We all are going through that. And when people are going through a time like that, what do you send them? The choices are you send them tea and a robe and a candle. And not that any of those things are bad, but your audience, right? If sprinkles and this whole theme is going to make someone happy, and then yet it has a practical use.
Exactly. And I think both coming together is an amazing gift. We get so many, I used to work in corporate, and you get so many useless gifts, where you go, oh, what am I doing with that now? And so, if you add this beautiful, inspiring theme and the message that you want to send together with something that's useful, and what better do you want to do? Like that's a great gift, I think. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, congratulations.
So that's what's next for me.
Yes, congratulations. Very inspiring.
Thank
and
you.
I love how you're building this whole, umbrella of little things. And, it's because I come from the brand world. So I'm always excited when I see things like that. So it's very nice to see it coming together for you. So thank you so much for spending time with us today and with our listeners and sharing your story. We'll link everything that you do in the show notes where we can find you on Instagram. Usually I think the handle is Debbie Weiss, yeah?
Not Debbie.R.Weiss.
Okay.
Too many Debbie Weisses in the world.
Okay, perfect. So we'll link all your profiles in the show notes so people can come and connect with you. Thank you so much for sharing your journey today. It's been a real pleasure listening to you.
Oh, thank you. Love talking to you as well. Thank you, Melanie.
So thank you so much for listening today. Debbie finished her book 2 weeks after her husband died. 2 weeks. I kept thinking about what her therapist said. Who cares? Like, who cares if you miss a week or you can't do the homework or people judge your writing when you're facing something that's huge? Those little worries, they just seem pretty ridiculous, don't they? Keep that in mind next time. But also this, she didn't wait for life to calm down to start creating. She started when everything was in chaos, when her whole world was collapsing. She wrote at 6 a.m. before her husband woke up. She wrote in the hospital, in waiting rooms. She made it happen because it was the thing keeping her sane. Now she's making these sprinkle gift boxes, sprinkles of joy, and honestly getting so much joy from it. At 62, everything is just starting. While people her age are talking about slowing down, she's talking about what's next, what's next, what's next, with so much excitement. You can't find someone like that on every corner, but you certainly can follow Debbie to get that little sprinkle of joy. And we shared all her handles in the show notes if you want to connect with her. Her energy is quite contagious, be warned. And if you're sitting there thinking you're too old, everything's too late, too whatever, maybe think again. Because Debbie would probably tell you to stop making excuses and to just start and keep going, even if everything else is falling apart, and especially then. Catch you next week. Until then, have a beautiful week. Bye. All right. Hello. And I'm so grateful you were here today, tuning in and showing up for yourself. If you loved this episode, can I ask for a quick high five? Yes, that's right. Just hit that subscribe button at the top and leave me a review and share this episode with someone who could use a little inspiration today. Your support really means the world. Let's also give ourselves a big hug for showing up, being honest, and supporting each other on this incredible journey. Don't forget to check the show notes for links to connect with me on Instagram and LinkedIn. I'd really love to keep in touch. Until next time, keep being the incredible real you that the world needs. I'll see you back here soon. Bye.